I spoke to someone earlier who sort of, when asking, like, what does the river and this project sort of mean to you, they had to really, like, almost like take a deep breath and sit back for a second, really think about it, and then it actually got quite emotional. So they're obviously, like, really connected, and the river just, like, connected and runs through the land, sort of collecting all of the good things and the bad things along the way. And it was just like, yeah, really, we just sort of had to sit together for a minute and sort of take on, like, how much the river holds, and why projects like this are, like, so important.
Pempont, to start with, is the land that we're working on. It's a 2,000 acre upland estate with lots of tenant farms, and it's been in the hog family since the 1660s. And in 2019, Action for Conservation, the hog family, a youth leadership group of 12 to 18-year-olds, and the tenant farmers here started the Pempont project, which is, as far as we know, the largest intergenerational nature project of its kind in the country. And we're working across 500 acres of the site to help nature to recover, but also to maintain the positive livelihoods and cultural context that the farmers bring and that the family bring, and try and keep people on the land, because I think what our core belief is that you can have more people and more nature. It just depends on how the interaction is.
Yeah, so Peak has partnered with Action for Conservation's Pempont project. A lot of Action for Conservation does a lot of this kind of ecocultural mapping. It's really exciting, the stuff that they've done on the land up in Pempont, and they wanted to expand that to the whole valley and the catchment to collect people's stories and create a beautiful map artefact as part of it. We were keen to get involved for a few reasons, but our really big one is that we've talked for a while about the idea of having the River Usk being this kind of non-human, like, trustee, an entity, like a kind of part of the place, a part of the natural world that would help guide us as an organisation and what we were doing. And we were like, this feels like that it really aligns with that kind of broader, slightly metaphysical idea about who we are and how we engage with the natural world.
Helo, Eben dwi, a da ni yma yn Pempont, a da ni wedi bod yn crwydro o gwmpas y lle ac yn dysgu am fapio eco-ddiwylliannol, sy'n bod yn ddiddorol iawn. Mae'n rhywbeth sy'n eitha newydd i fi, ond barod yn gallu gweld sut bod o'n gallu bod yn ddefnyddiol ac yn bwysig i lot o'r heriau da ni efo yng Nghymru ac yn fama. Wel, dwi'n meddwl bod mae'n brosiect difyr iawn, achos mae Cymru yn wlad sy'n llawn afonydd, sy'n llawn pobl i ryw radda, ac da ni'n wlad efo llawer iawn o heriau mewn fframio yn dyfodol a'n problemau ecolegol ni, a'n problemau amgylcheddol ni efo'r bobl sy'n byw yma. A felly mae'r broses o trio mapio mewn ffordd sy'n wahanol a sy'n fwy i wneud efo cyfathrebu rhwng pobl a cyfathrebu rhwng pobl a hanes yr ardal a bywyd gwyllt yr ardal. Dwi'n meddwl bod o'n rhywbeth sy'n werth i wneud, a mae'n rhywbeth dwi eisiau dysgu mwy am.
So, as with every river, they're important beings, and we've abused it. We've abused the systems, we've polluted them. Our impacts are now having an extreme effect on the biodiversity of this habitat.
My name's Nye, and today we're looking in the water for life, like marine life. Like these little limpet things make the rocks, and we're also reinforcing one of the dams here. Oh yeah, you were using the aquascopes, I think they're called, to look into the water to see if we can see any fish or any rock formation creatures or anything.
Seen anything cool?
Yeah, we found a rock, turned it over, and there was like a whole, like at least 20 of these little creatures which build like houses out of rocks underneath it.
Bannerbracken National Park has given us funding to have young people trained in ecocultural community mapping approaches, and to do a mapping process of the Usk Valley. So we all met with a group of young people at the Pen Pump Project in February to do a day introductory training to ecocultural mapping processes. So that was involving kind of getting our heads around the idea of mapping, seeing an example of ecocultural mapping that's happened at the Pen Pump Project, going out and getting our hands sort of in the river and sort of thinking about the river generally and the point of the project, and then a half day creating a base map of the Usk River.
It was even nice to just kind of like be in the river and just like feel the water like moving around my legs and stuff.
Yeah, it's been really fun. I felt like I was in like a fish tank or something, you know. But all that stuff's always there, which is the crazy thing. Like, and you just stick like a traffic cone in, and then you can see what the world has to offer, which I think is true about so many things. But yeah, it was really cool to see like the little like hermit nymphs that Molly was showing us. I thought that was really interesting. Yeah, because they're just parts of nature that you don't really have access to.
You
and
take
like
for granted as well.
for sure.
Yeah.
And did you add to the dam? Were you chucking some stuff on the dam?
I think that was all Niall's doing.
Yeah, no, we were just looking for signs of life to see that the river is nice and healthy.
Collecting all the dead wood from the riverbed and selecting a good spot
to sort of create new habitat above the dam, so hopefully it will sort of flood a little bit, make more of like a little woodland, wetland, but also slow the flow down to the larger river, which will help with like runoff and flooding, things like that.
We then have two main community mapping events. So today is our first one. We're at Brecon at Found Gallery, which is on High Street, which is a great place to be. So the young people have been interviewing local people, visitors to the area, just anyone who's coming into contact with the river, has memories of the river, that kind of thing, and collecting all those stories for the map.
So Penbont have done like past, present and future mapping of the Usk. That's what it is. And so we're doing like a twist on that, where we're interviewing the public and the locals of Brecon to try and get like a people-centred version of the map with past and present. And we're going to get like all the local stories, and we're going to do up the map with all of their stories and experiences and histories of the Usk. And it's going to be a display piece, which is where they're taking it, they're travelling it around to like different events and using it to influence their, I don't know what's called, like their projects, yeah, around the Usk.
It's a really fun thing to do with a community that's a complete mix of people from different sort of walks of life, but they're also like, oh, my drawing's gonna look really ugly, or I can't draw very well, and actually like getting people around the table together, thinking about the future, thinking about their stories from the past, and creating images and stories about those things has really sort of, it levels the playing field between everybody around the table, and everybody's got something to bring to it.
What does the River Usk mean to you?
We've lived next door to the river now for 30 odd years, and it's a joyous being that fills my day. Every day I see it, I swim in it, I walk along it, and for 90% of the year it's a joy. And then in diverse weather conditions it turns into a monster and it becomes an incredibly destructive force. So I have a diverse relationship with it, but mostly it's one of joy.
I haven't done much like this before, but to get into it is very enjoyable. I do really enjoy what I'm doing here. I find it very interesting. I get to learn about the local area as I do it. and I think that's really good and an experience I wouldn't pass over, because you get to learn so much about the area, where you're from, wildlife around it, everything about it, and I find that very nice.
Over the last 2 days we've been making a map of the River Usk and all of the stories that people from the local area and further afield have been telling us.
I think it's been a really interesting process because everyone has different skills that they bring to it, but also different parts of the information that's resonated most with them.
I think it's been really inspiring seeing like young people come together over like a common issue, and speaking to people, it's quite good to see that they know that the river health is quite bad and they want to help it. I just think they don't know how.
Right now I am sewing a patch onto the map, and I picked this sort of light blue, sort of almost turquoise, because I wanted it to match the sort of squiggles and the kingfisher, because I think it's a sort of a nice way to tie everything together.
The really interesting thing that gets said by the partners is that the involvement of the young people has this kind of dual effect. On the one hand, they bring kind of disruptive ideas, which are really useful, kind of shake things up a bit. But on the other hand, they make it much easier to have some difficult conversations because their presence in the room is, you can't retreat into your kind of archetype of like, oh, I'm the farmer and I'm the landowner and we're the charity. It's like, no, we have to step forward and be like, well, I'm Hal and here's what I feel. And it's really all about been a process of building that trust and getting to know the land again together. Has been really powerful in doing that.
Being present for this project has been really worthwhile in just broadening my understanding of why these maps are made, the value of they have in turning stories which exist in all of us. And I guess because they exist in our heads, we can think they're there, but obviously if it's just one story that one person has, whilst it's so real to them, if it's not shared, that story only exists with them. So I think the map is a very powerful tool of being able to share those stories, specifically about connection to nature and connection to the Usk.
I suppose what I really want to do, and I think what art can do, and I think what a project like this can do, is just open up the narrative so that we're just looking at other choices. So it's not either the canal or the river that survive. It's not either protecting our homes or protecting the river. We just need to draw on everybody's voice and imaginatively engage with what we're being offered by either wildlife or the lack of wildlife, and include that in the narrative. And I think that's what this group is doing so strongly.
And it leads to a sense of shared purpose and shared story from lots of different perspectives. And that's what we're really trying to do with the mapping, is take a lot of people who think they know the same place but actually know the place in their own way, and bringing them together to know it in the similar way from all of their different rich experience.
I don't know if there is an end to it. I think, yeah, at the end of these 2 months we'll have a beautiful map and a river of stories running from hopefully the top right down to the bottom. But I don't think we should ever think it's going to be a finished article. We can always add to it. People always have different stories. And yeah, it's fabric, so we can keep adding, keep going. So hopefully just something that inspires people to tell their own stories and their own connections and tell us about the nature that they've seen on the Usk.
I think my overall reflection is that when you create something big and beautiful and that is created by young people, it has impact. The young people from Peak have such amazing skills in artistry, and they brought that to bear and created something that is like a real like living artifact and that can start conversations all the way down the river. So it's been a pleasure to be involved in creating it, and I do very much see it as it's a sort of a jumping off point, a beginning of investigations together, and hopefully contributing to some of the conversations around restoring the river to better health, which I think you can clearly see the concern and the love that people have for the river, and it's just important to be reminded of that when coming to solutions is really difficult.
Perfect.